from class today, we took a look at what squares are, and then following that, we moved on to circles. Following that, we started to begin to look at triangles, and then rectangles, which are much like a square, but we are going to discuss ways to remember that within this video. And the final shape that we looked at was a hexagon, and we are also going to look at ways to remember that throughout this video. And I'm just going to represent them with these small pictures. Squares have the 4 equal sides, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 equal sides. And if you're having trouble remembering what a square looks like, you just need to remember that it looks like first base on a baseball field. The next shape we went over was a circle. It looks like this. And circles do not have any sides. They're completely round. And if you're having trouble remembering what this looks like, the best way to remember this is a piece of pizza. And, not a piece of pizza, a full pizza that you would eat with your family. The next shape that we went over was a triangle. Now, triangles come in a variety of different lengths and sizes. And so, typically, I would show you an equilateral triangle that has 3 equal sides, but I had trouble making one, so I just did the best I could. A triangle has 3 sides, 1, 2, and 3, and each side comes together at a point like this. And if you're having trouble remembering what a triangle looks like, just remember that the prefix TRI means 3. The next shape is a rectangle, just a basic rectangle. Some of you are getting a rectangle confused with a square, and the best thing to remember about this is that even though it has 4 sides, not all of them are equal. So these 2 on the top and bottom are longer than the 2 that are on the sides. And if you're having trouble remembering what a rectangle looks like, think of a book that we read for class recently, and that would be considered a rectangle. And then finally, the last shape that we went over is a hexagon. This one's a little bit more difficult because it has 6 sides, and that's not typically something we see every day. But if you're having trouble remembering how many sides a hexagon has, just refer back to the language of the word hexagon. It has an X in it, and the number 6 also has an X in it. So if you can't remember that, just try to remember that there are 6 sides. The next thing I want to review for the class that we had today is the 3D shapes that we went over. And the shapes that we went over today are the cylinder, the cone, the cube, and the sphere. So for the cube, this is the best example that I could find you right now. We just need to remember that a cube has 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And just for now, just ignore these right here. So the cube has 6 sides, and because it's a cube, it has all the sides are equal, and a cube is something you can hold. So a square is very similar to a cube in that each side of a cube is the shape of a square, but when we're talking about 3D shapes, we need to remember that it is something we can touch and physically feel. Our next shape was a cone, and this is a cone. Very important that we know this because it relates to ice cream. Yes, ice cream. So for the cone, it comes together at a point, and the bottom of it will typically be a circle shape. So if we remember what a circle looks like, it looks like this, and it would cover the bottom of this generally. However, mine is hollow because I don't have any cones on hand. So for a cone, it stands up. It's something you can physically hold and feel, something you eat ice cream out of very often. So just try to remember that it has the closed bottom, and it's flat in the shape of a circle, and it comes up at a point. The next thing that we went over was a cylinder. This is what I have for a cylinder, a nice bottle of perfume. A cylinder is much like a cone, except that instead of coming to a point, it has 2 ends that are circles. So here's a circle, and this is going to cover that right up, and then here's another circle. And then the rest of the shape is encasing the circle around it. So if we were to stack a bunch of circles on top of each other a million jillion times, then we would have a cylinder. Now the last shape that we went over was a sphere. And if you remember correctly, we talked about how the Earth is a sphere, and if you were to be able to hold the Earth, it would be much like the shape of a ball. So if you're having trouble remembering how to remember what a sphere is like, just remember your typical ball, and that is a sphere for us. Thank you guys for watching and doing your homework tonight. I encourage you, if you're struggling, I want you to go over these shapes with someone who's at home, an older brother or sister, or a parent, anyone that you have. And also tomorrow we're just going to talk about where we see these shapes in our everyday lives. Have a great night, guys.